Hello, everyone. We know you're just starting to join us and just hopping onto this call. And we're going to be here with Doug Turner in just a moment. So please come on in and join us, and we'll get started in about 1 minute. Nice to see you again. We're recognizing some of you from the previous days at 11 a.m. Pacific. Come on in. We're looking forward to seeing you, and we will get started in just a few moments. I've been taking the cue of Jane Dutton and Adam Grant in terms of what's the first question to ask on this call. So we previously had asked, where are you calling in from? And now we're going to ask you, could you type into the chat, where are you calling in from? And what is something bizarre that's happened in the past couple of days? So something bizarre. And Doug, I'll ask you that question too in a moment, just before we go live. All right, where are you calling in from, and what is something bizarre that's happened in the past couple of days? We'll start. I'll go first, and then you, Doug, and then we'll actually formally start this, and I'll introduce you. So I'm in the Bay Area, and I think a few of us usually call in from the Bay Area. And something bizarre that's happened is my son is going to be playing his first online chess game. He's actually signed up. He got paired with a player. He knows who's black and who's white, and they're having their first game this week. Feels very adventurous.
Good.
And you, Doug, where are you calling in from, and what's something bizarre that's happened in the past couple of days?
Yeah, I'm calling in from the mountains of Utah, not far from Park City, south of Salt Lake City. And I think the bizarre thing for me was that we've been trying to hunker down as directed. And I decided to go to the grocery store the other day, and I felt this like adrenaline rush, like I was doing something like an X game or something, kind of a high risk sport there. And I thought, wow, things have changed.
Right? Isn't that so? This is welcome to this time. Okay, we're going to get started. Hello, welcome everybody. These are daily strategies for working remotely. Today we have Doug Turner, and I'm so delighted he's with us. Doug is a coach and has been a coach on his own. He has run entire HR departments, and he has been a coach with us for a number of years. And we love him because he's really fun to be on with calls. So enjoy this time with Doug. It's going to be 20 minutes of Doug talking today about managing your well-being day to day. And then after the 20 minutes, come on in for some Q&A with us. Doug, welcome, and we're delighted to have you here.
Great, thanks, Sonia. I've been looking forward to this. This will be fun. So welcome, everyone. Hello, everyone. And here we are in the middle of this strange era that we're in. It reminds me in many ways of the aftermath of 9/11, where we all weren't quite sure what was going on. A lot of anxiety, a lot of stress, and things, our routines have changed. And I got thinking about what would it look like if we were to respond well to this change in our lives and change in the world? What would that look like? And what would we do from day to day to be able to manage that a little bit better, a little bit more proactively, rather than just be bombarded with all this scary news that's been coming up recently? So I thought about applying the 5 components or 5 elements that research has indicated contribute to one's well-being. A theory of PERMA, it's called, that Marty Seligman has established. And the PERMA stands for each letter stands for an element of well-being or flourishing. And all of these things and all of these concepts I wanted to think of something that was within our control to do. When we're feeling like we're losing control, losing the routines, losing the things that we have established from day to day, I was trying to decide what could we do that could bring back some of that control. So, so I tried to create a routine, something that we could do every day that would help us move forward in managing our, our well-being from day to day. And so I took the 5 elements of this theory, of this approach to well-being, and tried to apply. Let me explain what I mean by all of that. So the first part of that theory of well-being, or the research around well-being, is the idea of positive emotions. Now, obviously, that sounds obvious, but in reality, human beings are wired to look for risk and danger for survival. And so it's easy to do nowadays. You turn on the news and you see all kinds of danger, all kinds of risks. So this one strategy around positive emotions is to pick an emotion like hope or kindness or love or gratitude, and be mindful about it and look for it every day. And so my approach that I created was to, in the morning, think about and ask yourself some key questions. And then at the end of the day, record what you experienced. And there's research around that process of recording and making it real in your life day to day. So around this positive emotion, the question in the morning I created was, what positive emotions will you look for in today? And then how will I create a positive emotion in others around me? So those are two questions to ask in the morning when you get up, and then go about the day mindfully and intentionally looking for that positive emotion and looking for ways that you can convey that and create that positive emotion in those around you. And then at the end of the day, sit down and write down the examples of that emotion that you saw and how you have been able to create that emotion in others. So that's the first part of this well-being model, this positive emotion model. The next one is engagement. The question there to ask yourself in the morning is, which of my strengths or gifts do I want to use today? And then how will I use those strengths? Many times when we're hunkered down like we are sometimes, we don't go to our strengths. We worry about our weaknesses or our things that aren't necessarily our strengths. So this is a mindful, intentional way to identify one of your strengths and then establish a way that you'll use that strength during the day. And then, like before, at the end of the day, sit down and record which strength you used and which one and what impact that had on you. For example, for me, I'm a really good organizer. In fact, I'm a bit anal retentive when I put things in order, or OCD. I want it to be exactly right. So I thought, okay, I'll just start organizing things. So I've gone through several boxes of old pictures and old documents and genealogical records that we have, and I've organized them in a way that I just feel so good about that. And I'm also, since I'm an organized guy, I'm very methodical. I pulled out some old 3-dimensional puzzles that I like to do. And I've been working on those and getting it all organized and doing that. And just those little examples of using a strength in the day has made all the difference. And then remember, at the end of the day, record them and record what strength you used and then what you learned from using that strength in the day. The third one is one of my favorites, and that is about relationships. Other people matter a lot. And so building and maintaining relationships is even more important, I think, in these days of this whole virus business, because we've become physically disconnected a little bit. And things like Zoom and other things like we're talking today can be helpful. But the idea here is to wake up in the morning and think about, who will you reach out today and lift up? And what will you do? And who could you write a note to of gratitude, for example, and make that a point? So I made a list of some old friends that I haven't talked to for a long, long time, sometimes decades. And so I've tried to call one of those people on that list every day that we've been home here. And part of it is researching and finding them again, trying to figure out where they are and get their phone numbers and do that. And I have absolutely enjoyed that. It's been great to catch up with folks and to see where they are. And I think of it as a little bit of therapy, really, talking to your old friends and seeing where they are now. And then remember, at the end of the day, if you decide to work on this piece around relationships, write down how that had an impact on you and what impact you had on the others, as you've called them. I've loved reconnecting with some old friends and catching up, and we've laughed till we cried sometimes, and just remembering some of the memories that we've created together. The fourth part of this component of this model of well-being that we can look at is around meaning. This one is being connected with something bigger than yourself. And so the question that I decided to think about every morning was, what can I contribute to the world today? And who can I serve today? Kind of a funny story. Our neighbor that lives around the corner, I was talking to him the other day on the phone, and he mentioned that he was having a hard time getting distilled water for his CPAP machine that he uses at night. And so I thought, okay, on that day, I thought, I wonder if I could figure out a way to get some distilled water. So we put an order in at our local grocery store where we could go and pick it up. And we picked up several gallons of distilled water, and I took him and put a gallon or two on his porch, and then let him know that there's a gallon of distilled water on his porch. Silly, minor little thing, but just some way that you could serve someone else that would be meaningful. And in many ways, the bigger question is, what can I contribute to the world today? Sometimes that might be just staying home in this current environment, or taking the precautions that like wearing a mask or doing something that we've been advised to do in this time. And that's a small but could be meaningful contribution in the world. And then remember, at the end of the day, if you decide to work in this area of meaning, then take a minute and write down how you felt when you have served someone, and what impact that you had on the other people. And the last one of the PERMA theory, the positive emotions, engagement, relationships, meaning, and the last part of it here is achievement. So the same process, same routine that I'm trying to establish. Wake up in the morning and think, okay, what are my goals today? What new skill can I learn? And how can I use that existing skill to enhance the day today? So what I as an example, what I tried to do is I love being outside in our yard. So I've created a list of yard projects, not huge, but things that I can do and wake up and say, okay, I'm going to accomplish that yard project today. I used to play the piano a little bit, so I've tried to incorporate that in a little bit and see if I can learn at least some new tune to play on the piano. And I've always wanted to play the ukulele. So I bought one and have one, and I'm trying to figure out a way where I can practice that and at least eke out some kind of a tune today to achieve that. And then I love the example of my nephew. He decided that he wanted to improve his singing. So he has been watching YouTube videos on voice exercises that you should do from day to day to improve your voice. And that's the skill that he's decided to work on a little bit. And then remember, at the end of the day, take a minute and record, check off the goals that you've accomplished, celebrate those accomplishments in some small way, and identify some ways that you might want to look at working on some of those things tomorrow. So the idea here isn't necessarily that we try to accomplish something or do something or move the ball forward in each of these 5 areas. That could be daunting and that could be a lot. And I don't want any of this to add additional pressure or stress in the world that we live in today. So my suggestion is that you take 1 or 2 of these areas, whether it's positive emotions or engagement or meaning or achievement, and maybe ask yourself these questions at the beginning of the day, and then be sure and record those. And the promise is, based on the research around some of these things, that if we do this consistently and we do it mindfully and we do it intentionally and with focus, that within a few days or maybe a week or so, you'll start to feel more hopeful, more productive, and more creative and more optimistic. And you'll feel less depressed and less hopeless or helpless and less sad. And isn't that all what we're interested in these days anyway, is to take a bit of control back that we've lost a little bit, so that we can manage our well-being from day to day. So I hope that these little suggestions are helpful for you. If you're interested, I have this little exercise kind of written out on my website if you want to go there. It's real easy. It's douglasbturner.com. That's all it is. And you can go there and check out a blog there, and you can find the questions and things that I've written up here so that you can use them. And if you try some of these things, I would love to hear from you and love to hear what impact it has on you and the people around you. And feel free to share this with the people around you in hopes that it'll be helpful. So I appreciate the time that we've had. I hope these little suggestions are helpful. I hope that it can help you manage your well-being from day to day by creating these routines that are positive in nature, but also have a great impact on you and hopefully the people around you. All right?
Thank you so much, Doug. Thank you. We already have a couple of comments coming in, so we'll do about 4 minutes of comments and questions, and then we'll do the more individual coaching piece where you can act as if Doug is your personal executive coach and you can ask him anything that's been on your mind.
Wow, that's daunting, isn't it?
Only 10 minutes of it.
Okay, good.
So here's some things people are already saying. People are saying the relationship portion really resonates with me, and this person's been reaching out to old friends as well.
Yeah.
And
if I may comment on that, Sandy, the nice thing about that, or any of them, that they all feed off each other. So as you're working on like a relationship, reconnecting with friends, you'll feel the positive emotions. You'll feel like you're contributing something meaningful in the world. And so no matter which one of those 5 areas you pick, it will feed the others, and it creates a nice upward spiral.
You know, I was just going to ask you about that, because you said here are 5, but choose 1 or 2.
Yeah.
What do you find when you've presented this, when you've talked about this model with other people? What do you find is the smallest bite that people can bite and chew? And I say that because we also, in our field in coaching, we think a lot about things like small habits, or what's the smallest thing you can do. What have you found?
To me, I think the smallest and easiest thing to do is look for the positive. Find it, be aware of it, because we're so often not. I think of Mr. Rogers. I don't know if you remember when he said, when disasters are happening and trauma is happening, look for the helpers. Do you remember? Yeah. He said that, and I thought that is a great example of looking for the positive, because we're not wired to do that automatically, and that's the smallest little thing I think we could do.
Another question that's come up is, how long should this take? So even if we're not going through all 5, how long should even 1 or 2 take in the morning and in the evening? How long is that check-in?
I think it's got to be, I'm just speaking for me now, if it took more than 10 minutes, I don't know if I could endure it.
Endure it. Well, here's a framework that you brought to us. I don't know if I could endure my own framework if it weren't.
Exactly. So that's why I say pick 1 or 2. Don't try to do all 5, unless you're like an overachiever, like, maybe. But 5 or 10 minutes in the morning just to make it intentional, and then 5 or 10 minutes to jot it down at the end of the day, whether it's on your computer, or I like to write it myself. But I think that's plenty. But if you get into it, go with it. Follow the energy, and go with it.
Here are some comments that others are saying as well. And while I'm reading these off, I'm going to invite people here. What of these 5 are you going to try? So is it going to be positive emotion, engagement, that's using your strengths, relationships, the meaning, or achievement? Which of these will you try? So here's what some people have said. One person said, I'm a to-do list checker offer as well. That's a very long hyphenated phrase, a to-do list checker offer. That.
I even write things down that I've already done so I could check them off. So
isn't that so much fun? The to-do list, like here's what I've already done.
Perfect.
And so that's really helpful for their sense of achievement. This person replies as soon as you said that, Doug. Me too. I write it down for what I've done. And then somebody else is writing on our Facebook group, I'm playing piano every day and learning something new. So like,
Perfect. Great.
and then the same person says, my husband is reading poetry out loud.
Good. Good. Be sure and celebrate your successes too as you learn a new piece or whatever happens there. Good.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Here's a question I have for you. How do you do this, and do you help your coaching clients do this? How can people not sweat the small stuff?
I think the immediate thought that came to my mind is get out of yourself, get beyond yourself. And maybe that's the meaning part of this, is serve somebody, get and help someone else out. And because I think in these times where we're hunkered down sometimes at home by ourselves and we're being bombarded with all this stuff, we start to turn inward and kind of get too wrapped up in all of that. It's been helpful for me to turn outward and to put a gallon of distilled water on my neighbor's porch. that's what comes to mind.
Yeah. So if someone feels like they're sweating the small stuff, actually at that point, think outward, or think more community, or think family or friends, or whom you can reach out to.
I think it helps put things in perspective.
Yeah. This has been the formal part of our discussion. So thank you very much. And thank you, Doug.
Great.
And now we're opening it up to sort of self-coaching. So what is on your mind? What is the specific thing that you can try? What's a specific action that you can try in positive emotion, in using your strengths, in relationships, in meaning, finding something where you're serving others or contributing, and in achieving things, which can be as tight as garden projects or as big as writing your next book, whatever is on your agenda. Let us know what you're trying. I'll read off one comment right here. I love the idea of how to serve others because it benefits the giver and the receiver.
Yes. Yeah. There's so much there. I mean, it's the relationship piece. It creates positive emotions on every side. You're accomplishing something. You can do it in a way that you use your strengths. I mean, it could touch all 5 of those areas.
Yeah. And what you said, Doug, just as you were ending, even if you focus on positive relationships and you say, look, I do want to reach out to people. And like you said, sometimes it takes a little bit of prep work. What's the latest contact number? When is that person time zone available? What's going to work? You might even need to prep for the next couple of days. You can't always just read. But even if you're doing that, you're also affecting other things. You're affecting your meaning or your, so when I read your piece on your website with the questions and answers, I didn't get that as much as you describing it to me now. And it seems more doable that way, that even if I'm hitting one, I might be inadvertently hitting the others.
They're all kind of interwoven, I think.
Yeah. Here is what some others are going to be doing. One person is going to be focusing on number 3. That would be, I think, relationships, becoming a helper.
Perfect.
The Mr. Rogers world. What is yours, Doug, right now? What of those 5 are you focused on currently? You gave us examples of yourself from all, but what's the focus for you?
Well, I'm up to my elbows in this huge 3D puzzle that has 1,500 pieces to it.
That's a lot.
It's spread out over 2 or 3 tables. And so I get wrapped up in that. And that's kind of the engagement part, using that organization skills. And I'm a total nerd. I organize the pieces by size and color and all of these things before I start trying to put it all together. But I'm continuing to reach out to friends too every day and track them down. And people sometimes, like I said, I haven't talked to for years. It's been fabulous.
I know of a mom who she started doing, I don't remember, a 300 or 500 piece puzzle with her daughter, who's young, maybe younger than 5. So she would be doing this with her daughter, but every once in a while her daughter would walk away and she would just love the flow of being in the moment herself and working on the puzzles.
True.
They hide it under the couch so they can always bring it out. Just bring it.
You know, I feel comfortable sharing that now because I was conducting an offsite retreat for a group several months ago. And I gave that example and I said, how many of you like to do those kinds of puzzles? And almost everyone in the room raised their hand. And I felt so validated. You know?
That's so funny.
So,
we have a couple of other comments coming in, which is this person is going to start with their strengths and meaning and how they can serve others.
Right.
Thank you so much, Doug. Thank you for walking us through this PERMA model. We're going to post on the Facebook as well, your website, where they can
Good.
download these questions. And thanks for
Perfect.
showing us that it actually can be just one or two.
Yeah.
It can be just a small amount of time in the morning and in the evening, checking in, that morning question, that evening question, kind of bookending your day with a thought about something, whether it's positive emotion or relationship, whatever it could be.
It helps take it from the realm of a good intention to something that we actually do by having that morning and evening check-ins. So,
You know, I was thinking that as you were saying, I also during this coronavirus time have said I would like to reach out to people, but I haven't really made it a checklist in terms of,
yeah,
hey, who's my person for today? So
yeah.
you're right. It makes it more actionable.
Well, call me, Senya, anytime. I'd be happy,
Will do.
I'd be
Will
happy
do.
to help you achieve that goal. All right.
Thank you so much for your time with us today. Thank
All right.
you.
Thank you. Good
See
luck.
you all, everybody, tomorrow at 11 in the morning. We look forward to seeing you again. All the best. Thank you, Doug.
Bye.